This is Greg Trotwine. We're here with Maritime Reporter TV at the Workboat Show 2016 in New Orleans, and with Glenn Hong, president of Hawaii, our young brothers. And Glenn, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Glenn, just to start it off, if you can just give us a description of your fleet. Just give our viewers who most likely know the fleet, but a description of your operations.
Well, we run Inter-Islands cargo service, regulated service within the Hawaiian Islands. We have a fleet of 7 freight barges plus 1 ro-ro barge.
Okay.
We have 7 towing tugs
Okay.
of varying horsepower, anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000.
Okay. And I understand also that you just made a recent significant investment in a fleet upgrade with Conrad Shipyards. Can you discuss what that order entails?
Yes, we had a plan from 2006 to recapitalize all of our fleet.
Okay.
And the first part of it was to replace the barge fleet.
Okay.
And we did that in 2007 through 10.
Okay.
Something happened in 2008 that was called the recession.
Okay.
And so that delayed the second portion of the capital reinvestment, and that's the tug side. So we would have hoped that the tugs would have been replaced by this date.
Okay.
So it's been pushed out a bit. So we expect to have 4 brand new tugs, 6,000 horsepower,
Okay.
to be delivered in 2018.
Okay, very good. Now, what are some of the peculiarities or some of the challenges that you see of operating in your environment?
Well, of course, we're probably the most isolated landmass with any degree of civilization or population in the world. So the closest continental point is 2,500 miles away, the west coast of the U.S. So we have to operate pretty much on our own. Obviously, parts have to be flown out. Because we're not a large market like Seattle or here in the Gulf Coast, your supply depots are really far away.
Okay.
And reliability is really key. So you don't have a lot of backup.
Okay.
If something happens to your tug or barge, you just don't go grab it a couple hours away. It takes a lot of effort to flip our fleets around to keep the service going, because neighbor island communities that we serve rely on our regular scheduled service. It's a just-in-time economy.
Okay.
And if we don't deliver the goods, then the shelves are empty.
Okay, very good. So, Glenn, just if I can just kind of step back a little bit, you were talking about your time on the West Coast. What is your personal history within this maritime industry?
I do not have a maritime background.
No?
No. I am a CPA by background.
Okay.
Financial. So I came to Young Brothers in 1991.
Okay.
As a regulatory and vice president and chief financial officer.
Okay.
Became president of the company in 1992.
Okay.
So I've been there a long time.
Okay.
So I've learned a lot about the industry, but I cannot say that I'm a mariner. I understand the industry.
Absolutely. A business is a business, and taking stuff from point A to point B. So from when we talk to anyone that owns and operates vessels today, the talk invariably turns to regulation. When you look at the regulatory environment in this industry of a company your size, what do you see? What do you count as the top challenges?
You know, actually, the type of regulation that most people deal with, the Coast Guard regulations, OSHA regulations, all of those things, IMO, everything's Subchapter M now. We deal with those. You know, we know they're coming. We pay attention to them. We work toward making sure we're in compliance. We're IMO compliant right now, and we saw that coming. So we have systems. Our parent company, FOSS, provides a lot of support for us in achieving those objectives. Okay. When you ask about regulation, we also have an additional layer which most other companies have no clue what that's required, and that's PUC regulation. We're
What's that?
PUC, Public Utilities Commission.
Okay.
We are a regulated intrastate carrier. So the bulk of our cargo is actually intrastate. It goes from one point in the state of Hawaii to another point. While a good portion of our cargo is interstate, the bulk of it is intrastate. Okay. So that's regulated by the PUC. So that's an additional layer of regulation that we spend an inordinate amount of time dealing with.
We mentioned some of the technical aspects of being quote unquote isolated. And if I ever had to be isolated, I'd prefer to be isolated on Hawaii. I always ask when I talk to the heads of companies what their greatest challenge is. When you look at your business, what do you consider the greatest challenge to running an efficient, safe operation?
Capital.
Yep.
Access to capital. We're a fixed asset business, and it's very expensive. So we're building 4 tugboats, and it's being constructed down in Conrad right now, and they're going to be delivered in 2018, as I said. So we have a huge bow wave of capital, and so you can go along for years in a company of our size without huge capital requirements. Obviously, you want to be able to have spending for your maintenance capital, but when you have to replace a fleet of barges or a fleet of tugs the size of ours, it's very significant to our operation. And being able to get investors to say, we're going to spend that money on this company, and the bow wave is really huge. That's our biggest challenge.
Glenn, thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Greg.